If you look real closely, I'm about to do something real dumb. Yep, that hurt. I think it's hilarious how much emotion my hand showed. But anyway, I'm Imagine Create Destroy, and let's get started, y'all. I wanted to challenge myself for this build, and I was really inspired by gamey builds. Unlike gamey builds though, I don't have a plethora of watercolors, or really the drawing skill to back it up. So this drawing's a little not the best, but I think it came out pretty decent. And most importantly, I think it gave me a really good idea of what I'm going to make this robot into. Scratch building can be a little tough, so I think having a clear picture before I start really helped me out with the end result. Now, I won't pretend like I came up with this idea off the top of my head, but I did kind of put my own spin on it. I had saw a YouTube video where this guy was making these like robot creature sketches, and one of them in there really stood out to me. I really wanted to recreate that into my own diorama. I'll be honest though, I don't remember the video and I can't find it now, but shout out to him. Thanks. I like to think this guy's like the grim reaper of robots, and when it's time for a robot to die, he comes, collects their firmware, and re-downloads it into a new robot. We can set that drawing to the side. I'm going to just keep it on my top shelf here, reference it as I'm building this robot. I'm going to start off with this quirky little guy. We'll go ahead and dismember him real quick. Help! Help me! Nah, nobody's coming to help him. Alright, now that we've quadrupolice-sized him, I'll go ahead and stab myself in the finger like an idiot. I think this is a perfect example of exactly what not to do when you're using a hobby knife. I literally cut directly towards myself and put a lot of pressure. Now I can say I put blood, sweat, and tears into this build, but the tears weren't because of the build, it's just because I started thinking about my life and started crying. For the legs, I kind of tossed around what I was going to do, but I decided on doing the same thing I do for my mechs, and that's just use a couple popsicle sticks, cut them down, drill a hole in them, and then I use this square polystyrene tube, cut a hole in that as well, and lastly just connected that with another polystyrene tube. Pretty simple, and you can pose the legs however you want. Now we can just go ahead and add some greeblies to the legs. I'm going to use various pieces that I have left over from old model kits. And one thing I really wanted to add was some pistons that control the legs. I think this adds a really nice little detail. And if you look closely right here, you can see a little bit of my blood left on the inside of that popsicle stick. So I guess a little piece of me will be with this diorama forever. Now I'm going to bust out an old pair of my boxers. Made sure these ones weren't doo-doo stained like most of my other ones. Then we'll cut off a little bit of fabric from the middle, give you a nice little easy access front and back hole there. I used this picture lid to cut out a piece of the fabric, and then we can move on to the next step. I glued on the arms first, so that way when I put on his cloak, it can kind of mold around the arms. Then we'll just soak that piece of underwear in some PVA glue watered down with water, and we'll just make sure and get that special white sauce in all the nooks and crannies. We'll go ahead and rub out the extra white liquid, kind of splooge all over this thing here. Is this what it feels like to milk a cow? And this is what I think sets me apart from other diorama makers, my above average videography skills. Just look at that amazing shot of me adding his cloak. I was thinking the top of the legs looked a little plain, so I added a piston, this random little square piece, and then some guitar string to kind of fill it out a bit. Lastly, for the greeblies, I'll move back up to the top, fill out the blank space on the arms. I started with some guitar strings coming out. I like to think his hands got ripped off at some point. Then we added another piston and a guitar string just to kind of act as like a cable or something. Now for his face, the only thing I didn't scratch build, I'm going to use this old Warhammer kit I had lying around, and we'll cut off the top, fit it back to the bottom. Hold on, we'll get it any second. Okay, there we go. Then I just super glued the head onto the body, and we can take a second to admire how goofy he looks right now. Then I soaked another piece of my underwear in some white glue. We draped it over his head like a, what do you call it? Like a hood, cloak hood? Yeah, there we go. I know I said I was done with the greeblies, but I lied. I'm going to use some pieces from an old model kit. I'm just going to make a square here, use a piece of polystyrene for the top and the bottom. We're going to go ahead and fill that out with some greeblies here. I wanted this to be like a secondary robot that's like shoulder mounted. I don't know exactly what it does, but it looks cool. The cloak was looking a little bit plain, so I added some shoulder pads and this top little like scorpion tail thing that came from that Warhammer kit as well. Now we can just glue on that little side box robot thing, and then we can bust out some green stuff. I imagine this robot is like an old human that's been turned into like a cyborg and has lost all humanity. So I'm going to use this green stuff to make some pipes. I like to imagine these pipes carry like oxygen to what's left of his brain, which I guess pretty much is mush at this point. And after I was done kneading this together, I rolled it into like a pipe for the pipes. And I do need a mounting point, so I'm going to use this polystyrene tube, just cut it into small little pieces, and we'll stick that onto the end of the pipes. We can go ahead and super glue those pipes into place. Then we can prime this thing off camera and get started on the painting. I'm going to keep the painting pretty simple. Normally I'd say I'm running out of time and that's why, but I think I've already ran out of time since this video is 2 days late. Painted the eye red, and then anything that I'm going to use this contrast paint on, I'm going to paint that white first, and then we'll hit it with the red contrast paint over top. Lastly, I just painted some of the details with this gold metallic paint, and that's pretty much it. I think it still looks really awesome considering the low effort I put into painting. Now that that's done, we can move on to the base for this thing. I really want to let this scratch built robot kind of shine, so I'm going to keep the base pretty simple. Just started off by hot gluing a couple pieces of XPS foam together. Then I'm going to use this concrete texture paste by AK Interactives. Watered it down a bit just so it's not quite as thick as it comes out the bottle. Let that fully dry and we can paint on some graffiti with these Posco paint markers. As I told you in the beginning of the video, I'm not the best artist, so these drawings aren't amazing. And I'm also not very creative when it comes to drawing, so I just googled some easy creepy graffiti and copied that off of Google Images. Any astute viewers out there will notice that I got a new crafting mat. Recently been moving and I left my old one in my truck and it got really warped and crappy, so now we got this nice gray and black one. Lastly, for the base, I'm going to hit it with a black wash. I also did a brown wash, I forgot to record it, and we'll splotch off the excess with a paper towel. While I glue on the model, I just wanted to thank everybody for watching. It really does mean a lot. If you like the content, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help out the channel a lot. And lastly, we'll paint the sides with the black 4.0, and that's another diorama down. Now let's roll the beauties. We'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.